After hearing about the marked room buff, I knew I wanted to check it out. The key price alone went from on average around 2 million to over 4 million rubles. When I bought my key, I paid 4.6 million rubles. And in this video, I'm going to show you all 10 times opening the door, as well as all the loot that I got and how many rubles I made back from all of my runs. Don't forget to get subscribed so you don't miss out on any of my future guides. So I'll be honest, it took me a couple of tries, but finally I was able to make my way up to the marked room and unlock the door for the very first time. Now, immediately upon opening the door, as you can see that tan weapon there on the ground. Now that is the spear. That is one of the best weapons in the game and also one of the most valuable on the flea market. When broken down, it's worth about a half a million rubles, and that is definitely going to be something you're not going to want to miss when you're opening this door. Besides that, I found an MCX and an M1911 as well as the chainlet, but then of course instantaneously I heard another player. I ended up shooting a couple of shots, ran out of bullets instantaneously. Of course, it had like 6 rounds. I pulled out my shotgun, tried to shoot, instantly got killed. So immediately after, I ended up running it back, and I got a super close spawn to the dorms once again. So I made my way back up, opened up the marked room once again, and of course, immediately I saw that docs case on the ground. Now, that's going to be pretty much one of the best items that you can find in terms of value. So you're always going to want to make sure that you're snagging that. And besides that, I ended up finding an AS Val as well as another sniper rifle and that Axel bird on the chair there, as well as the DVL. Now, pretty much you're going to want to be able to bring a bag that is big enough to take as many of these weapons as possible, because a lot of these weapons are going to sell for a crap ton of money on the flea market. Now, something to take note of is a lot of times if they have a magazine in them, you're not going to be able to sell the weapon, but as long as it doesn't have the certain ammo in it that's restricted, you shouldn't have an issue for most. Once I finished up looting, I made my way over to extraction, and I made it out with the docs case, the T5000, and the Axle. Now, this was actually pretty huge because a lot of these items were able to sell on the flea market for quite a bit of money and make me some of that money back that I spent on the key. Now, as you can see right here, I put all the items from Marked Room right in my stash, and those are all the items that you can see me selling here. Now, I sped it up a bunch, but once I'm all done, you'll actually be able to see how much I ended up making in total from this run. Now, from this raid in total, I ended up making about 500,000 rubles, which isn't exactly amazing considering the key costs almost 4 million rubles, but it was pretty decent, especially considering that I was able to survive. Now, immediately after my second run, I was feeling super good. I had just gotten the docs case, but of course, I ended up dying twice back to back. Finally, I ran it again, and I got a super close spawn to marked room, so I ended up running right in, opening up the door, and I found myself yet another spear. Now, besides that, I ended up seeing a double barrel shotgun, an AS Val, as well as that little revolver pistol. Now, regardless, this was a super good run because like I said before, the spear is worth over a half a million rubles by itself. The AS Val is another 100 grand, plus the sawed off is another 30 to 40, and just anything else that you can manage to find is all just more money. Plus, you can also see right here, I found that figure in the corner. I believe that's another 60k. Everything adds up a whole bunch. Something I should definitely add though is that the MK47 is not sellable on the flea market, so that, unless you want to just take that to use for yourself, there's really no point in taking because that only sells to traders for around 30 to 40,000 rubles and takes up a bunch of space. So that is something you definitely want to pay attention to. So now, as you can see here, I'm laying down in the grass right next to the dorm's car extract. I paid a few thousand rubles and I was able to sit here for a minute in the ground and very easily was able to extract. Now, once I did that, I did exactly what I did last time. I put all of my weapons and stuff that I was going to be selling into my stash, and as you can see right here, I am quickly going through and selling everything so that way I can show you the total amount of rubles that I made from this raid. So as you can see right here, from this run I made an absolute crap ton of rubles. I ended up making just under a million, and this was my best run by far yet. Now, just after finished selling everything, I ended up going right back in, and I spawned just over by the 2-story dorms. Immediately after making my way over to 3-story, I heard some footsteps as I was walking in. So, like anybody's gonna sit there and do, I was just kind of waiting to see if I heard some more footsteps or maybe heard anybody crossing because I wasn't sure if any of those doors were open down there or not. So I ended up closing the door, and instantaneously, this player ends up coming right out in front of me, scared the absolute shit out of me. But, anyways, I ended up killing him and making my way up to the marked room and opening the door. Although I do end up dying this raid, the loot was still pretty decent, although not the best. As you can see right there on the floor, there's a Scar H, there's an M1A, as well as an RSAS, and there were 2 golden chains, as well as a lion. Now, thankfully, I was able to get the lion into my container before I ended up dying, but pretty much everything else ended up just getting lost, although in total, the value this run probably would have been closer to 1,000,000 rubles, so that's kind of disappointing, but hey, you can't win them all, so what are you going to do? So once I finished looting, I was kind of just outside checking the building because I knew for sure that I had heard somebody else before. So once I was done, I kind of heard a bunch of moving around. So I was just sitting here like a little rat, just waiting. And as you can see, my patience paid off, and I was able to get another kill. The loot wasn't anything too crazy, although I grabbed the suppressor and the pistol super quick, but I ended up just grabbing the docs case and the backpack, and I ended up dipping. Now, of course, as soon as I made my way over to this hill, things took a turn for the worst, and I encountered these players. Now, at first, I thought it was just the one guy, and I was shooting at him. I have no idea how I missed all those shots. Honestly, I know that is extremely embarrassing. I switched over the RSAS, and of course it had no sight, so there was absolutely no chance I could have hit a shot with that. I switched back over the AK, and as you can see here, things kind of just didn't go exactly how I planned. Immediately after dying, I loaded everything up for my setup task, and I went straight back in, and I got right back up to the marked room instantaneously without any fights. And as soon as I open up the door here, you can immediately see the golden clock right there. There's an RSAS on the floor, as well as a TX15, an MCX, and there was also a golden rooster right there on the chair. Now, of course, it never fails. I always have some type of issue. I was trying to pick everything up, and the stupid alpha rig that was in my backpack, I should have just threw that on and taken off the scav vest immediately. As you'll see here in a minute, I'm going to end up just dropping the scav vest and then doing that. But yeah, overall, this run was very, very good. So as we were making our way over toward the extraction, of course, it absolutely never fails. There's always something that's going to happen. Now, I started getting shot at by a scav. Instantaneously, I started shooting back. And now, I don't know if I'm just horrible, or if it's the gun, or the sight, or whatever, but I could not land my shots in the scav. And at this last point right here, I swear I thought I was aiming at the scav, but I guess I wasn't, and I died. Now, immediately after that last run, I was done playing around. I said forget setup, and I ended up bringing this modded out AK. And it ended up being pretty decent, but as I made my way up to the marked room, immediately as we open up the door here, we can see there's a golden horse on the floor, as well as an M1911. As we go a little bit forward, we can see the gold chain, as well as the DVL, the MK17, and the RPD. Now, as you can see, I'm outside again, right in the grass. I am right next to the car dorms extract, and I'm about to extract right through there. Now, although I did survive this run, it really didn't end up making me too many rubles because 2 of the weapons I ended up getting out with weren't able to sell to the flea market and only the traders. But overall, I ended up making a little over 200,000 rubles, and I did end up keeping the RPD. So overall, I'd consider that a win still. Between runs, I ended up dying quite a few times, and of course, on this run, there were actually people in second story, so I knew that I had to be very quick in what I was doing. But I managed to make my way up and open the door instantaneously, And right there on the floor, you can see that there is another spear. Now, as we know, that's worth a ton of money, but I also found that Warzone wallet, there's an MP7 right there, an RSH-12, as well as the Pro Kill. Now, this was actually one of my best runs that I had yet, and I was not about to let anything like destroy that. I also found that little statue right there. In total, this run was worth just about 1,000,000 rubles in total. Now, once we finished looting up, honestly, everything this raid was going absolutely great. Although I made it to this point, had immediate PTSD, was super terrified, and that's why I ended up hugging the wall the whole time. I didn't want any chance of running into scavs. But just like that, in this raid, we were easily able to make just about 1,000,000 rubles worth of stuff, and I will show you selling that in just a second right here. As you can see, I've got the spear totally disassembled and all the other weapons and the few items I got. And quickly as I sell them right here, you'll be able to see that I made just about 1,000,000 rubles in total from when we first started. Now immediately after the last run, I respawned in and spawned right by 2-story dorms. As I was making my way over to 3-story, there was this guy that was running in and he went on the 2nd floor. But I made my way up to the 3rd floor anyway for marked room, made my way inside, knowing that I had to loot pretty quick, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Now immediately you can see that there's an MP7, a 5.7 pistol, as well as an M1911. Besides that, there was just a little statue guy that was standing on the chair in the corner. But other than that, that was really all the loot. This was honestly one of the worst runs that I had had. So yeah. So once I finished looting, I heard a bunch of footsteps coming up the stairs. So I was just kind of checking the hallway. And as you saw that guy run back and run back again, he was trying to bait my shots, but I ended up waiting. He peeked again. I tried shooting him. I honestly thought I might have got him. Of course I didn't though. Now at this point I knew I was pretty low on bullets, so I ended up switching over to the MP7, checking how many bullets were in that mag. Thankfully it was almost full, switched to full auto, and I ended up taking across, going across the hallway, trying to like get the guy to bait. Of course, I ended up getting hit. I tried to heal, and as you hear, he's running up. I tried to fight him, and I instantly got one-tapped. Immediately after dying, I ended up grabbing this pistol, which was from one of my previous runs. And I spawned in, and I ended up getting to dorms very late. But regardless, marked room was not open yet, so I ended up coming in, and I opened up the door. Now, immediately on the ground, you can see the MCX, the MP7, and the ammo case. Now, I also ended up finding a golden chain, a USEC toy, as well as a grenade. Now, this was also one of my best runs, although I didn't end up profiting the most because I actually ended up keeping the ammo case. Like most of you probably would if you were in my situation, but I still ended up making a few 100,000 rubles anyway, so that's still pretty cool. Now, once again, I ended up getting super lucky and the dorm's car exit was available. So, once again, I paid it a few thousand rubles and I was easily able to extract yet again. Once I made it back to my stash, I began putting everything in and I started to sell everything. Now, like I said before, I still ended up making a couple of 100,000 rubles, even though I did end up keeping the ammo case. So, that was pretty awesome. So between my 9th and 10th run, I ended up dying literally about 10 times. I was getting so fed up. So as you can see here, I don't even know what this abomination is. It's a Vapor with a friggin' drum mag. But here I finally made it and I opened the door for the 10th time. And lo and behold, it had the absolute worst loot yet. All I found was one roller, a VSK-94, a red flare, and a grenade. Now, of course, the whole time that I was in the room, all I'm hearing all around me is scavs and footsteps. Now, obviously, I don't care about the scavs, but there was another player, of course, running around as well. So as you can see, I ended up opening up the door, and I don't know why I did this, but I was going to throw the grenade down the hallway, but I was worried I was going to get shot, so instead I tried to throw it out the window, which was literally like the dumbest possible play ever. So after throwing that grenade, I ended up making my way back out of dorms, and pretty much everybody left. So I really didn't know exactly what happened. But of course, as I'm making my way towards the exit, I start getting shot at as I'm running up this hill. And I had already broken both my legs because I jumped off of the roof in dorms. And, you know, But so, of course, I keep getting shot at as I'm running away. And I finally think, okay, I made it over this hill. I think I'm good. So I'm waiting for my stamina to replenish a little bit. I keep running just a little bit further. But of course, I keep getting shot at and I keep getting grenades thrown at me. Now, of course, I'm getting shot at and I wanted to turn around and maybe see if I could shoot the person. So turned around and sure enough, right here, as you'll see, I end up dying. So now that I've finished my 10 runs, honestly, the loot, I gotta be honest, was not quite as good as I expected it to be. Overall, if I wouldn't have died at all, I would be willing to bet I probably would have gotten, in total, about my 4.6 million rubles back if I would have sold everything, including the ammo case. Although, honestly, because I died a few times, and including all of the deaths that I had trying to get there because of how populated dorms is, honestly, I would recommend you don't even bother with this key because more times than not, you're just going to end up dying. I mean, maybe if you found one, hold on to it, and if you happen to just be in dorms area once in a while, late in the raid, stop over. If nobody's open it up because the odds are you could get some pretty decent loot. But honestly, I would not recommend going out of your way just to buy this key and run the room because it's really not worth it. And unless you happen to get super lucky, which I didn't, you're probably not going to profit. But if this video helped you out, please be sure to smash that like button and definitely get subscribed because I've got a ton more Escape from Tarkov guides coming out very soon. But thank you so much for watching and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.